Well, my first Spyderco knife was, you're like, yeah, the Endura 4. I've seen the video. Oh. Okay, well, the Endura 4 was a perfect size because the Delica was too small and the Spyderco Stamina was a bit too big. And then that all changed a few months ago or a year ago or whatever, whenever the Delica 4 Wharncliffe was announced. And I was like, that's a perfect knife that could drive traffic to my channel. I mean, because it looked cool, and I could tell by the way people looked at me when I whipped out the Endura to cut off the crust on my P&J sandwich at work that they thought I was compensating. And I'm totally not, okay? I don't know where you heard that. So let's do the dimensions. And in brackets, or parentheses, or whatever, I'll put the size for the regular Delica 4 from specs I got off the internet. Like the overall length and the weight. That's pretty cool, right? And then the blade length. And the cutting edge. The handle size. That grip area. It's actually surprisingly bigger than I thought. The spine thickness and the handle thickness. While the original Delica 4 had a drop point blade, the Delica 4 Wharncliffe has a just big enough Wharncliffe flat ground blade made from 2017's boring VG10 steel. The Wharncliffe is, of course, the blade shape, and the flat grind is how the blade has a flat surface that doesn't curve inward or outward. It goes down toward the edge, which is good info for the people who passed out drunk at the keyboard 3 hours ago watching a review about Ferraris, and this is the shit playing now. VG10 is a fine steel that I have loved for years in my Endura 4 because it's easy to get hair shaving sharp with a little work on the sharp maker, and it lasts an okay amount of time. The edge, that is. The Wharncliffe is sometimes confused by manufacturers as well as people on the internet with the Sheepsfoot Blade. The Wharncliffe blade actually comes to a longer needle point, and the Sheepsfoot, of course, has a more dramatic drop toward the tip and is made from the lower leg of an unsullied lamb. The deployment. The deployment on the Enduras and the Delica are what one would describe as almost traditional. It's a speed and care not seen much since the tactical revolution. But it's still a reality in parts of Europe where the government doesn't want people who run YouTube knife channels cutting their fingers. Now, if you hit it hard, you can open it with the middle finger or thumb. But mostly I prefer the circular motion of the thumb to open it. See, like this. Click, thud. The Delica and Endura blades have a satisfying thud when the back lock engages, which makes the lock feel pretty strong. So you can open it up with your thumb, and when you close it, put your pointer finger up front, shake it downward, then close it the rest of the way with your fingers. Make sure you have your pointer finger close to the front of the handle so you don't cut yourself as the blade falls. Blade retention when closed on the Delica is very, very strong. I am unable to flick it open no matter how hard I fling it downward like this, no matter how much cocaine I've had with dinner. See? The handle. The handle is made from fiberglass reinforced nylon, which is used on the Endura and many other Spyderco knives and other brands of knives, and it has a bidirectional texturing that gives you a nice amount of friction when cutting. It provides traction when you press into it, but really isn't fatiguing to the hand when you're not. The handle fits my hand easily. It isn't quite as long as the Endura handle, but the knife is designed to take up less space and be a lot lighter. It's under 3 ounces. That's cool, man. I mean, if that's what you think is cool. With all that said, it's a good size. I've had heavier knives with much smaller handles. The skeletonized liner inside helps reduce weight, and it's nested down inside the handle so you can't see it from the exterior, like say on a gonzo knife. The knife feels strong and sturdy from the outside. There's some jimping up top on the blade spine, so you get a nice amount of traction when pressing against the blade spine. There's some recessed jimping on top of the handle that keeps it from being perfectly smooth. But again, it only gives you traction if you're pressing into it hard, and you can't feel it much when you're just holding it and admiring it. The pocket clip. It isn't a full deep carry, but it sits down in your pocket okay-ish. It's positionable to all possible places, taking righties and lefties into consideration. So you can have the blade pointed up, down, backward, forward, or just remove it because that's the kind of person you are. Okay, some use. Let's do some damage to some wood. Deployment on the Delica and Endura line has never been the allure, I would assume, to most people. And there's nothing in the knife code that says all knives need some sort of tactical speed opening deployment. Knives are more fun to fidget with and cut yourself with if they have faster deployment, but there's not anything necessary about it. And you're like, how about the zip tie trick, where you can open it as it leaves your pocket or flip it open easier with your thumb or your finger? No thanks. Zip tie tears the inside of my pocket depending on where I carry it, and you know, I've never been able to get the zip tie to stay in place very well. I just, I really don't need it. I've gotten by years. I carried the Endura for years without having to stab something really quick. Don't get me wrong, I see why easy, quick, one-handed deployment is useful in theory, and I can admire it too, but I'll be honest, I think it just looks cool. Before my Endura 4, I carried a Leatherman PST for 10 plus years, and there's nothing tactical or fast about that, if you're familiar with it. I'm more for practicality than tacticality. You're like, is that a real word? I was always under the impression the Delica was a tiny, less functional, punier knife, but I found I was pleasantly surprised when using it. It's a great addition to my sub 4 ounce pocket everyday carry rotation of knives. Although if I have several knives and I only carry a blade a day or 2 a week, is it everyday carry? Bro, that's deep. Some people way back when were like, hey, what's good about the Wharncliffe blade on the Yojimbo? So why don't we compare this one to the other popular Spyderco knife, which is larger, the Yojimbo 2. Yojimbo has a blade that sits lower when compared to the handle when it's fully open. The Delica's blade sits up higher. So when you're making cuts that are more flush and you're pushing downward, the Yojimbo performs better and makes more use of its huge edge than the Delica does. You're going to have to use the Delica at a little bit more of an angle. Now, most of my cutting and knife-related tasks do not involve cutting in this hypothetical scenario, but it's YouTube, and when do we ever do things that we really do in real life on YouTube? I often cut tape from cords, break down cardboard, and cut cotton tie line, and stuff where this doesn't really matter much. I prefer longer blades for this, which is why I originally went with the Endura so long ago. But oftentimes people don't need that long of a blade, and the Delica is the perfect size with its nice sized handle and its compact blade. If you think about it like you would think about a utility razor blade knife, it has a much more useful, longer cutting edge, and that's what a lot of people use for work. If you like this review, leave a comment, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe to my channel. I've also been making a conscious effort to make my videos slightly longer and hopefully adding more useful content and more in-depth comparisons and not just padding it for the sake of making them longer. Do you think too long? Not long enough? Let me know in the comments below. So what's your ideal length of a knife review? Thanks for watching.